Playbook run failed with error, couldn't resolve module community, kubernetes, K8. The collection had been deprecated and replaced, but our requirements, YML had no version pin, so it installed the broken redirect package. Let's break down Ansible-Galaxy and collections, how it works, and the exact mistake behind that failure. Ansible-Galaxy is the official community hub for sharing Ansible content. It hosts roles, which are self-contained units of automation, and collections, which bundle modules, plugins, roles, and playbooks under a namespace. The Ansible-Galaxy command has two subcommands, role and collection. They are not interchangeable. Roles install to /, Ansible/roles/, while collections install to /, Ansible/collections/. Always specify the subcommand. Here are the basic commands. Note the difference. Role install uses a comma for version, collection install uses a colon. Always use the correct subcommand. A requirements. YML file is the cornerstone of reproducible Ansible environments. It explicitly lists every role and collection with a version constraint, ensuring that Ansible-Galaxy install produces the same set every time. Here's a production-tested template. Notice the version field. For collections, you can use exact versions or ranges. For production, always use exact versions to avoid surprises. Collections follow a namespace, name convention. The fully qualified collection name, FQCN, includes the namespace, collection name, and module name. Using FQCN in playbooks prevents ambiguity when multiple collections provide modules with the same name. Here's a playbook using FQCN for built-in modules. For collection modules, you'd use something like Cisco, iOS config. This makes the source explicit and avoids resolution issues. Many organizations run a private automation hub. To use it, configure Ansible, CFG with a server list and authentication token. Then you can install collections from your private hub. Here's a sample Ansible, CFG configuration. Note the server list points to a named server and the token is stored in the config. In production, never commit tokens to version control. Pinning versions is critical for reproducibility. Without it, Ansible-Galaxy install gives you whatever is latest. Use exact versions and generate a lock file to resolve transitive dependencies. Here's how to pin versions. For collections, use a colon and double equals. For roles, use a comma. Always specify exact versions in Requirements.yml. Collections can depend on other collections, which can lead to version conflicts. Use lock files to resolve all transitive dependencies. Always test changes in a staging environment. Here's an example of managing dependencies. The MyCompany network collection depends on Community General and Ansible, utils. We specify compatible version ranges to avoid conflicts. Not all collections are on Galaxy. You can install from Git repositories or local tarballs. Always pin to a tag or commit hash, not a branch name, for reproducibility. Here are the commands. Note the Git plus prefix and the comma-separated version. For tarballs, just provide the path. Collection installation can fail for many reasons. Use the VVV flag to see detailed HTTP requests. Check authentication, clear the cache, and validate your YAML syntax. The lock flag for generating lock files is available only in Ansible 2.1 and later. If you are using Ansible 2.9, you must manually pin all transitive dependencies in requirements. YML or use a third-party tool like Ansible-Galaxy Lock. The article mentions lock files but does not show the exact command. Use Ansible-Galaxy collection install R requirements. YML lock to generate a requirements, YML lock file with exact versions of all dependencies. Then commit this lock file and use it for installs. When caching collections in CI, always use the lock file's content hash as the cache key. If the lock file changes, the cache must be invalidated to avoid using stale collections. Otherwise, a security patch or critical update might be missed. Here are some debugging commands. The VVV flag reveals HTTP errors and dependency resolution. Use dryrun to preview what would be installed. In CI/CD, every build must be deterministic. Use lock files, cache collections based on the lock file hash, and validate your requirements. YML in the pipeline. Here's a sample CI script. The before script installs collections from requirements, YML, then we run linting and tests. If you have a legacy Ansible codebase using roles, you can migrate to collections for better organization. Create a collection scaffold, move roles in, and update playbooks to use FQCN. Do it incrementally. Here's how to migrate a role to a collection. Instead of using the role keyword, you include the role from the collection using FQCN. Using public Galaxy content introduces security risks. Mitigate by using a private hub, pinning versions, verifying checksums, and auditing installed collections regularly. Here's a security-hardened Ansible, CFG. We disable public Galaxy by default and only use a private hub. SSL verification is enabled. This is the same issue we highlighted at the start. Here's exactly why that happened. We had a playbook using community, Kubernetes, K8s, our requirements. YML didn't pin the version, so it installed the latest, which was a deprecated redirect package that no longer contained the module. The playbook failed, affecting 200 servers. The requirements. YML had no version pin for the community, Kubernetes collection, so it installed the latest deprecated redirect package that no longer contained the module. The fix was straightforward. We updated requirements, YML to use the Kubernetes core collection and pinned version 2.0.0. Then we reinstalled and updated the playbook to use the FQCN Kubernetes core K8s. This resolved the incident and prevents recurrence. This is the mistake that caused the incident. Without a version pin, ansible-galaxy installs the latest version, which can introduce breaking changes. Always specify an exact version. Version ranges can break your build when a new major version is released. Always pin to an exact version in production. Never use version in production. It will install the latest version every time, breaking reproducibility and potentially introducing breaking changes. Never blindly trust public collections. Pin versions, verify checksums, and use private hubs for critical infrastructure. If you run ansible-galaxy install without the subcommand, it defaults to role install. This will either fail or install an empty role directory, causing your playbook to fail with role not found. Using short names like iosconfig can lead to ambiguity. If two collections provide a module with the same name, the first one found is used. Always use FQCN to be safe. Installing from a branch is risky because branches can be force-pushed. Always pin to a tag or commit hash. When a role is inside a collection, you must use the FQCN. Short names won't work. Always use the full namespace, collection, role name. Never commit tokens to version control. Use environment variables or Ansible Vault to inject tokens at runtime. If you cache collections without a key based on the lock file hash, you risk using stale versions. Use the lock file's content hash as the cache key. Here's how to diagnose similar issues. Check if the collection is installed, verify the module exists with Ansible doc, use verbose output to see errors, and validate your YAML syntax. Let's run through some common interview questions. What is the difference between ansible-galaxy role install and ansible-galaxy collection install? Role installs roles to ~, ansible/roles/, collection installs to ansible/collection/. How do you pin a collection to a specific version in requirements? YML, use version 6.0.0 under the collections entry. What is a FQCN and why is it important? Fully qualified collection name, e.g. Cisco, iOS config, prevents module resolution conflicts. And a few frequently asked questions. What is the difference between a role and a collection? A role is a self-contained automation unit. A collection bundles multiple roles, modules, and plugins. How do I install a specific version of a collection? Use ansible-galaxy collection install namespace. Name, version. What is a lock file and why use it? Records exact versions of all collections and dependencies, ensures reproducible builds. Let's recap the key takeaways. Use ansible-galaxy role install for roles, collection install for collections. Always pin exact versions in requirements, YML. Use FQCN in playbooks to avoid ambiguity. Configure private automation hub with token. Ready to go deeper? Up next, Ansible tags for selective execution, then Ansible Amazon Web Services automation, then Ansible Docker management, and Ansible in CI/CD pipelines. Find them all at TheCodeForge.io. Thanks for watching. The full article and code examples are covered in detail at TheCodeForge.io.